Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Okay, happy Friday everyone. We are just a few days away from what will likely be a historic 20th Party Congress. We will have a lot to cover from Sunday onwards, and our first development to cover today, occurring so close to the highly sensitive event in the capital, will have many in the local security apparatus and some in the leadership fuming. Yesterday, Thursday, a man hung banners criticizing leadership and dynamic zero COVID and calling for strikes off a bridge in the busy and affluent Haidian district of Beijing, not too far from Renmin University. He also lit a small fire. One banner read, quote, "We want food, not PCR tests. We want freedom, not lockdowns and controls. We want respect, not lies." End quote. Another banner called for elections. Police quickly arrived at the scene to arrest the man, and a dozen or so cars and vans of officers remained at the location to ensure that there were no further disruptions or disturbances. But video and pictures of the one-man protest quickly went viral, putting censors into overdrive. Outside of China, a quick Google search should bring up the images and video. Posts containing the hashtags Beijing or Haidian were quickly blocked on China's popular Weibo social media platform. The name of the bridge too, Zitong, also appears to be censored. Most commentators agree that this event, so close to the party congress, will be embarrassing for some in the leadership. Quote, "Police arrested him and removed the banners, but photos and videos spread quickly, and then the censors went nuts. He is a courageous person, and there are some very unhappy Beijing police officers today. But this is a massive failure for them right before the 20th. Heads will roll." End quote. Next up, lockdowns and zero COVID. This week has seen a series of high-profile articles in state media explaining why Beijing's controversial and disruptive zero COVID is the right policy for China, deflating the hopes of some anticipating a possible relaxation of the measures after the Party Congress. If the state media apparatus is privy to the decision-making timetable for zero COVID, it would appear that the policy is here to stay. On Thursday, state-run CCTV ran a long interview with Liang Wennian, head of China's Epidemic Response and Disposal Leading Group, where he made it clear that there is no timeline for ending the policy as, quote, "a considerable amount of the population would become infected," end quote, in a short amount of time. When asked to comment if controls may be gradually relaxed after next year's 2 sessions, that is the National People's Congress and the People's Political Consultative Conference, Liang expressed that he couldn't say. When asked why China still insists on the strict policy when the symptoms of Omicron are mild, Liang said that while the country's fatality rate from the variant was low, the absolute number of deaths was large. So, quote, "When our country's drugs and vaccines are not fully ideal in dealing with the virus," end quote, then, quote, "increased social control is necessary to protect the lives of the people," end quote. Liang then said that China needs to develop better tools to fight the virus, including vaccines and treatments. No exit strategy or timeline for zero COVID easing has been provided in any of these high-profile state-run articles. Around 90% of the population have been fully vaccinated against COVID as of this Thursday just been, according to health officials. About 86.3% of people aged above 60 have been fully vaccinated too. There is concern, however, regarding the effectiveness of domestically produced vaccines. Meanwhile, risk-averse and likely shell-shocked local officials are reimposing strict zero-COVID-related measures in Shanghai this week as cases rise in the financial megacity. On Thursday, 47 infections were reported from the previous day, the most since mid-July. Multiple districts this week confirmed the closure of entertainment venues, such as bars and cinemas. Indeed, several friends and sources in Shanghai have complained to me this week that there is nothing to do after work because so many good places have been closed. Several schools throughout the city have also suspended in-person classes. Across the country, dozens of cities are requiring regular COVID testing, affecting over 100 million residents. In areas of Zhengzhou, provincial capital of Henan, and Guangzhou, also known as Canton in English, local authorities are requiring PCR testing twice a day for residents. The financial cost of testing alone remains a concern for economically minded regulators. We remember in late September, the state-run People's Bank of China Research Institute wrote a note to clients that mass testing of 900 million people, about two-thirds of the total population, every 3 days would cost local governments at least $100 billion a year, putting massive strain on local governments, especially in poorer regions. The Bank of China Research Institute warned at the time, quote, "There is a serious imbalance between local government revenue and expenditure," end quote. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to hit the like button, and as always, anyone who wants to go the extra mile and help keep China Update sustainable, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. This is a huge help for anyone who is able to go that extra mile and support the channel in this way. As always, thank you so much everybody for the ongoing support. Now let's continue with our coverage of the escalating technology war between the US and China as the Biden administration's newest restrictions send shockwaves through the global semiconductor industry. Quote, "The US government's recent restrictions are serious and escalate the economic and potentially geopolitical conflict with China, the largest customer of semis," end quote. The US-based New York Times writes that the White House decision has been months in the making as officials, quote, "debated what they could do to hobble the country's progress," end quote, in using, quote, "supercomputing and artificial intelligence to develop stealth and hypersonic weapon systems and to try to crack the US government's most encrypted messaging," end quote. Ultimately, the officials decided to use US influence over global technology and supply chains to try and choke off China's access to advanced chips and chip production tools needed to power those abilities. Quote, "The goal was to keep Chinese entities that contributed to potential threats far behind their competitors in the United States and in allied nations," end quote. US commentators are debating the wisdom of these new restrictions, with strong advocacy both for and against the moves. For example, quote, "America's restrictionists, zero-sum thinkers who urgently want to accelerate technological decoupling, have won the strategy debate inside the Biden administration. More cautious voices who advocate incremental curbs on select aspects of China's tech ties have lost. This shift portends even harsher US measures to come, not only in advanced computing, but also in other sectors, like biotech, manufacturing, and finance, deemed strategic. The pace and details are uncertain, but the strategic, objective, and political commitment are now clearer than ever," end quote. Japanese financial outlet Nikkei Asia reports that Taiwan's TSMC will receive a one-year US license for China chip expansion. The one-year license will cover its Nanjing manufacturing facility in China. According to the Wall Street Journal, South Korea's Samsung will also receive a one-year exemption from the new US chip restrictions on China. The outlet writes that exemptions for a variety of semiconductor and chip equipment makers from the US or allied countries are widely expected by industry officials. Samsung dominates production of two major types of memory chips, DRAM and NAND flash. The tech giant operates a NAND flash memory chip plant in Xi'an and a chip packaging facility in Jiangsu, eastern China. Despite these exemptions, however, the fallout for the wider industry around the world remains sizable, with hundreds of billions of dollars of market cap decline already priced in by investors this week. The Philadelphia Stock Exchange Semiconductor Index dropped 12% since the restrictions were announced last Friday, US time. China's most advanced maker of memory chips, Yangtze Memory Technologies Co., is already having employees from Applied Materials, KLA Corp., and Lam Research Corp. Pulled. In a research note published yesterday, Bloomberg intelligence analysts warn that, quote, "the new regulations could deliver a heavy blow to Applied Materials and Lam Research, which have a high sales exposure to China," end quote. Of course, the pain for Chinese firms will be much worse. On Thursday, industry body, the China Semiconductor Industry Association, said that it opposes the, quote, "US arbitrary chip technology ban against China," end quote, and urged the US to, quote, ratify its wrongdoings in a timely manner in light of the interests of the global semiconductor industry and its downstream customers, end quote. Now, let's end today's video by once again quoting observations from Mr. Bishop on the wider geopolitical implications of this escalating technology war. Quote, the US has massively escalated the US-China technology struggle, and there is no turning back in the foreseeable future. And it has done so on the eve of the 20th Party Congress. Timing Xi will likely use to only further remind the party of his correct analysis of US intentions and of the need for self-reliance, and to prepare for much tougher struggles with America ahead. End quote. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much everybody for watching. I will see you all tomorrow.